I'm currently in my late 20s, so something I've been thinking about, but something I've thought about for the last decade since going through depression is my identity. And that's because mental illness was the first thing, or one of the first conscious things that felt like it stripped me from identity and gave me the feeling of not mattering. So I questioned, what is it to matter and how can you matter to people? And currently, I felt a lack of identity because I felt a lack of solidity in my life. And I believe you feel solid by the relations you have and the work you do and the things you like. And the overall role you are. And I believe I have no role in this moment. I'm just working a job that isn't a career, and I'm renting, so I have no. Well, it feels like I have no stakes in the environment, really. Although I've lived in this state my whole life, I felt no deep rooted ties to it. And I think my lack of ties, or I know, rather, my lack of ties, all began with my family. I feel like this has no choice but to be detailed and personal because to explain it, to give myself as an example, would mean to share more details. And I don't know if there's a way to think about this with zero examples or zero explanations, but being my age right now, you know, usually, or for most of us, our previous role as we're growing up is just the role of potential. And I think once you get past 25, basically, it's no longer about potential and you just are what you are. And people don't expect you to do anything grander. Unless I guess you're very vocal about your dreams and you show a lot of initiative and evidence, which I have not. So I kind of feel like my identity, or I think this is just how it is, your identity is a reflection of the people and things around you. And right now, I don't have anything around me to really be a role. I no longer feel like a daughter because I'm older and I am just my own adult now. And even when I was a daughter, I didn't really feel wanted as myself, as an individual. It just felt like I had been happened by chance and had not been appreciated as a soul or a being or cared for or learned about by my parents. And, being in my late 20s, I'm considering the role of motherhood as an escape from this lack of identity, which may sound selfish, but I guess I think there's a reason that everything or the conventions were formed this way, and this was just supposed to be nature in of itself. So rather than being selfish, I think I'm trying to head towards something that feels more natural in order to get my life back on track, or feel like my life is on a track. I think a lot of my generation is lost right now because we've overplayed certain roles, especially in immaturity and youth, and this arrested development of believing you can be in your early 20s for the rest of your life. And the way to avoid growing up is to avoid having children, or believing having children is like a doomer thing and selfish because of, the anti-natalist, all those beliefs about climate change or how the world sucks and capitalism, so to have children is to be selfish. I can understand that point of view, and I had once agreed that I didn't want children because I'd felt that my parents had not given me what I thought I deserved as a child, so I wanted the rest of my life just to make up for that for myself. So when they asked about grandchildren or assumed that I would have children, I made it a point to say no. And I don't know if the point ever got across that the reason I didn't want children was because I did not like my parents as parents. And I didn't think that they deserved to have a continued familial bloodline, and I deserved to have my life for myself. But as I'm increasingly, or we're all increasingly getting lost and more lost, I believe one solution is to bring back the family structure that has been broken by various things. I think motherhood would give me a foundation and the roots that I've never gotten from anything else. And some people do have roots. Some people are born in very conventional and loving families and feel solid in their community and financially and in their talents and feel that there's a place for them at work and that they are valued for who they are. I have not had such luck. So I think this is something I could give myself in order to define the rest of my life and, yes, like give my life definition, give it a clear goal. Otherwise, I'd just be wandering because I have no big career aspirations and I've lost a lot of my identity, or I've not felt the need to hold on to it. And in part because a lot of that identity is just let me try to pronounce this correctly. Reverberations of my past self, and especially my teens and my early 20s, when it comes to hobbies, when it comes to music I like, when it comes to books, when it comes to movies, not much has evolved. And I don't mind that it hasn't evolved, but with the lack of evolution, I just don't want to feel like I'm 15 forever. I don't like that feeling. And some people cling to that feeling, but I just really want people my age to be adults now. I want to be an adult. I want to feel like we are adults. I want to feel like we're capable and we are not just self-deprecating and sharing memes and doing the least and feeling doomed and hating the future and not believing the future and blaming the past. And I totally get the points that people make in that perspective, but I don't think it does any good. It's just a lot of misery. And I think that motherhood would give me a sense of femininity and nurture and some natural aspects that would naturally improve me and make me happy. It's kind of like the natural estrogen boost and the hormones that would activate, my sense of matter and the motivation and my connection to my child. Although some people don't connect to their children, and as I was saying with my own mom, and I'm sure she loves me in the way that she knows how, in the way that she feels in her definition. I never felt that a very individual love. I've never felt the love that I felt I should feel, but I respect that she loves me in her own way and loves me in her own way. And a quote I think about, which funnily enough comes from Boy Meets World. I don't remember the details of the episode, but Mr. Feeney says, or was it Eric? Someone says, lose one friend, lose all friends, lose yourself. And this is what I feel about identity is, and our and kind of the inconclusive reaching to be solid. This includes like non-duality, this seeking to be solid and to feel real and to feel like you matter. When in actuality, we are mostly actions and reactions and reflections. So a visual that came to me today when I was thinking about this is kind of like an open cube box. And the cube is also mirrors. And people believe that they can find themselves and attempt to be a solid cube. But the truth is, or I feel like the truth is, we are a cube, but we are empty. And that emptiness inside the cube, that is us. And then all the walls are the reflections. And some of those reflections are people. So one wall can be like your mom, one wall can be your dad, walls can be siblings, walls can be work, career, like where you're born, so your environment. And all those walls start reflecting. And the air of the reflection, or the light of the reflection, that reflection that is produced of all the walls bouncing off of each other, that is you, and you can't find you because you don't exist. You are just the essence of the reflection. You know, like when you're born, there is no inherent worth in a person and a baby. It's mostly potential. And you need these reflections and interactions and engagements to exist. Otherwise, the more isolated you are, the less you feel real because you literally become unreal. And I'm someone that has spent a lot of time in isolation because I always thought if I spend a lot of time alone, I can figure out myself and figure out my truth and what I really think and what I'm really like. But that amount of introspection has kind of been detrimental because there's no validation, and I've always second guessed myself, and it becomes less about what I like and what I am and who I am, and just more about like the concept of thinking and my thought process and philosophy, and it becomes ungrasp. It's not, you can't grasp that. It's not something that feels solid. It's something that is like having excuse me, is like having rabbit holes in myself. And I'm trying to, or I want to make it a goal to, because I believe that I can't ever feel solid and I can't ever feel real in this world. I want to at least make the unreal feel bearable, so I'm attempting to create the walls around me in order to have my reflection, this reflected shard at least, be something that I can endure or be comfortable being for the rest of my life. And I was thinking, there's no way to be whole, there's no way to feel whole because we are just atoms, and atoms are empty. At least if I'm remembering that correctly. There's a lot about society right now that feels like it could just be made, or it could live with or without you. It could be made with or without you. It could live on with or without you. I think this is why there's so much anxiety, because people feel like they don't matter because they can just be so easily replaced, and by work, and stores can have any consumer. The store doesn't care if you don't buy it as long as someone's buying it. It's never really about you. And I think families have unfortunately fallen apart, and some of the reasons are justifiable. There's not there's a lot of things that weren't done right, but at the same time, I think in the grand scheme, in the big picture, family is very important, and it is worth healing, or at least starting from where you are, if you can't go back and fix your parental relationships, to at least have a healthy relationship with your own children. Because once society stops functioning around family, I'm not sure what it functions around. And you see this with dating too. Like, a lot of people can't make up their minds or are strung around because we continue to push adult decisions. And this includes intimacy, and we think things can just be done for fun forever. And it's fine to have a boyfriend or a girlfriend or hang out for several years with no clear goal in sight. And I'm not saying that having children is the only goal, but I wish that people would be more honest or could be more honest and sure that they definitely don't want to have children, so that could be a clear goal. But I think some people say that they don't want to have children in order to appeal to the masses. And that's why a lot of dating apps, a lot of people say things like they're not sure what they're looking for, or something casual as to not scare people with a commitment. When ideally, I still believe that most people would want to end up married, but to put marriage on a dating app is too intense. So they just want to begin off by saying something casual and they're not sure yet. I think these lies and these, we're not purposely trying to be malicious or dishonest. I think it's just a matter of the way we perceive the trends and believe that most people are thinking of. So we believe like most of this generation doesn't want kids, it doesn't want anything serious, and is okay just hanging out for several years. So that's what we set our standards to as well. And when you don't have a clear goal, when you're not dating in order to find the mother or father of your children, that's just like that's a whole different set of standards. If you are dating to find that one person that you are going to be tied to, like your bloodline's going to be tied to for the rest of eternity, I believe your standards and what you're looking for is way different than if you are just looking for another boyfriend or girlfriend to maybe string along for the next 2 or 3 years. And if it's over, it's considered no big deal. It's just a lot of wasted intimacy energy. And that's just like the kind of commitment energy we have towards most things, is that we can just move on. Which is ironic because most of us like face this feeling of not mattering, but then we also go through life and nothing matters. The job you have doesn't matter. The relationships you have don't matter. The place you live doesn't matter because anything can change. And it's all about making sure everyone knows that you don't need them, or leaving for your own worth too. I don't want to say, some people do leave for great reasons. Like, I believe if your job isn't paying you well or isn't treating you right, then you should leave. And that just becomes like a vicious cycle because like jobs won't treat people right because they know that they can just get another person, and other people won't treat their jobs right because they know that they can just get another job. So these commitment issues and these lack of goals have left people with less identity, less like relation, like ecosystem identities, the identities that keep you mattering in a physical, like a real sense of like you are known as a mother in the community. You care for a child that goes to a school, so you keep up with the school. You keep up with elections, although I don't care about politics. But you think about the food that you're eating because your child is eating that food. Children make you think about what is happening, hopefully, and give a good defined role for yourself. Otherwise, you are just connected to a personality, and a personality can usually depend too much on trends, and a lot of the trends we have are immature and about like pop culture or being cool, being perceived in a very quickly gratifying way. Like people don't want to be perceived or don't care about being perceived as wise or truly skillful, like knowing how to fix cars, knowing how to garden, and things like that. It's mostly about looking good, knowing the references, knowing celebrity news, knowing memes, knowing people, knowing, the status things. I honestly find it boring to know so many people around my age, and only a few are married, and those that are married don't even have children. And it could be like 4 years after marriage and they still don't have children because they are so focused on the idea that they need to save life for themselves before they share it. And the lives that they're saving for themselves is just like online shopping more and I don't know, like ordering Grubhub. It's like it doesn't seem worth it. I feel like a baby and the kind of cosmic or earthly consciousness connection of having a baby would be worth way more than just years and years of like random trips to fake tourist spots. So I feel like I'm adjusting my life not to a passion, but to the knowledge that I am nothing. But what I am is the people I put around me. I am what I react to, I am the reactions. And the best thing I could do is find a solid role. And I think the easiest and the longest role I could possibly have is mother. And the most personal that no one can take away. It's like an unconditional role. Something that would be for sure mine. And I wouldn't have to depend on them to stay. Like a partner could be unconditional. I could love them unconditionally, but I don't think it could be necessarily an unconditional role because I could always leave. But none of what I'm saying right now is very I'd say correct or right. Like, I'm still thinking out loud. I'm still trying to make sense of this. So I may not word it perfectly, but I hope that the general sense of what I'm talking about makes sense. I may not explain it or validate it perfectly, but I still believe there's some truth here. And the truth can be seen connected to biology of people not feeling right by going this long with the same role. You are supposed to change. You're supposed to grow. And I have to do this for the sake of my health and to be happy, to feel a sense of fulfillment, to self actualize, etc., etc. I can't imagine 10 more years of just being myself and allowing such small things to dictate my day by day, like going on social media and reading tweets and who I follow on Twitter. I need something. I need realness. I need to get offline. I need a human body. I need a partner. We need a goal in order to stay together. What's kind of funny is I think like MGTOW and like Doomers or incels, whatever you want to call these people, I think they get that too. They get that more than um, the mainstream. They're very frustrated and they don't feel useful and they feel helpless. And that's, in a sense, I guess I feel that too. But it's less gender focused about men not doing enough, really. And it's just more about, it's more just like a neutral statement and a neutral feeling that, I need this to get done. Not like, I hate men because they don't understand, like, we need this to get done. But I guess that's because, feminism is mostly the culprit of ignoring the reality of the ways in which mattering works and the entire ecosystem of gender and roles. And then pulling away from everything and saying everything doesn't matter doesn't free us, or it just frees us to insanity. And it's not easy to talk about with people my age, especially, women friends, because we've been so conditioned to not want children and to hate men that I've seen a lot of pushback, especially as more people talk about wanting to be stay-at-home moms or just joking about being stay-at-home moms. A lot of women find it offensive and think being a stay-at-home mom is like the most dangerous, misogynistic thing that you could do. So it's hard to talk to people honestly and say, all that feminist stuff that we really agreed with when we were like 16 when we were kids doesn't hold up. And I can't take that with me into my 30s because now I'm in a different mind state and I'm just hormonally different. My body is different. I feel like my role needs to be different. I can't agree with what I said when I was 16 or thought when I was 16 because, back then I didn't need men anyway. I didn't need boys. I was in school. I just had to focus on schoolwork. Now I definitely do need men. I need men to help me all the time. I do value men. I'm seeing the truth, and it's very embarrassing to realize that you've been ignorant or regardless of the truth of some, critiques. Like, obviously, not all men are good. There is sexual assault, there is sexual abuse, etc. But overall, I would never say that we don't need both genders. And then most of the men that I end up around now are just like very liberal, they're very woke because they've also been brainwashed and they're just very feminized. So it's hard to return to that essence of like, I believe femininity and masculinity is important without turning heads, which is crazy because it is just so natural and it is so beautiful. And to feel that this is now an insult and considered oppression is disgusting to me. Because when you treat this with the disgust, you're treating me with disgust because this is I feel my best when I'm feminine, when I'm being taken care of, when I feel purposeful. I like feeling beautiful. I like feeling protected. I like feeling provided for. But I also like giving, and I've held so much love for people over the years, and people that did not give love back, boys that did not think of me at all, but I really enjoyed it. I mean, not enjoyed being ignored, but the feeling of a crush, the dedication I had. I've always been a very loyal lover. So I'm really just trying to balance this lack of identity, or this giving up of the personality with the rest of my life and the types of moves I have to make. Because even though I'm setting aside my personality, the value of personality, the value of identity, to continue to go to school and find a job, aka a role that brings out the type of lifestyle I want and hormonal, emotional lifestyle that I want, which right now seems to be aimed towards nurturing kids and just creating the mirrors I need in order to reflect to something that feels good. And grounding myself in the best sense that I can ground myself in, while knowing that it is all kind of futile, I guess. I was thinking pointless, but pointless doesn't feel. Pointless feels too negative. I'm trying to find a synonym, but consciousness is just consciousness. It's just consciousness. It's just like air. It's just, it can't, this will never be permanent. This can never be solid. So I'm trying to feel solid to be sane. Because this amount of unsolidness is not, it's just not sane. It's just, it's like I want a good life, not because I believe everyone deserves a good life. Or not even that I want a good life. It's just, I guess I'm just wanting something easy to get through it all. I'll just have to think more about what exactly it is that I want. How to explain that. Although it doesn't necessarily matter that if I explain it, is anyone demanding an explanation for the meanings? I guess it's just that I am so awake. I am so awake in this reality. What other point would there be but to create a dream, a conscious dream? I know it's not real. But should that make it easier to complete because I don't have such emotional ties to when things fall through? I feel like it'll be easier to get back up. So my insanity is my advantage. So why not? Why not have a good, happy life? Why not manipulate the mirrors? Why not make up myself? Why not be a character through and through instead of pretending that I'm just chance thrown around by fate? And taking it to heart and feeling very personal. And this is how I take control through my insanity. By being the director, the writer, the scriptwriter, the actor, the camera person. It's just like, let the movie begin.